On the surface, it's just a soda pop. A cold drink you can buy almost anywhere. But it's come to be more than that. How did this soft drink, Coca-Cola, become an emotional touchstone for millions around the globe? Trace that story, and you trace a small part of the world's story.
In 1886 in Atlanta, a pharmacist named John Stith Pemberton was battling agonizing pain. He had been wounded in 1865 by a saber blow during the Battle of Columbus and turned to morphine to relieve the pain. Dependent on the drug, Pemberton began experimenting with alternative medicines in an attempt to cure his own addiction. His most famous formula mixed coca leaves, cola nuts, and wine. He called it Pemberton's French wine coca. When Atlanta passed temperance laws, Pemberton needed to create a non-alcoholic version. In 1886, he prepared a sweet syrup and, when he accidentally mixed it with carbonated water, he served for the first time the beverage that would later be called Coca-Cola. The drink was advertised as a tonic for ladies and all those who suffer from nervous exhaustion. Pemberton, however, did not live to see his invention succeed. He sold the rights shortly before dying in 1888. If the creator died without seeing the wealth, who turned this remedy into a global powerhouse? The answer is Asa Griggs Candler, a pharmacist and businessman from Atlanta. In 1892, Candler bought the formula and incorporated the Coca-Cola Company. To turn the elixir into a brand, he bet on an innovative strategy. He distributed coupons offering a free glass of Coca-Cola, allowing thousands of consumers to try the product. He also used calendars, soda fountain urns, painted wall signs, napkins, and even clocks to advertise the beverage. This avalanche of marketing made the drink explode. By 1895, just a few years after the purchase, Coca-Cola was already sold in every U.S. state. More than selling a product, Candler sold an idea. The drink was young, refreshing, and modern. The cursive logo designed by Frank Mason Robinson and the red color became cultural symbols. Behind the neon lights and the shine of publicity, what shadows would begin to emerge? The exponential growth brought problems. In Colombia, unions alleged that Coca-Cola bottlers collaborated with death squads to intimidate labor leaders. Accusations the company denies, but which led to university boycotts and lawsuits. In Plachamata, India, residents accused the Coca-Cola plant of extracting up to 1 million liters of water per day, drying up wells and contaminating soil with sludge containing lead and cadmium. The struggle ended with the closure of the plant, but left a legacy of distrust.
Exploitation, pollution, encroachment. Coca-Cola is doing all three. That's why I say that no company has the right to steal the common water resource. No company has the right to pollute water that is our life. No company has the right to encroach in our land that is our livelihood. Coca-Cola is doing all three.
An investigation by the Fuller Project and the New York Times revealed another link between the brand and violations. International brands, including Coca-Cola and PepsiCo, buy sugar from the Indian state of Maharashtra, where there are allegations of forced labor and forced sterilizations of women. After the report, the U.S. Department of Labor added Indian sugar to its list of commodities produced with forced labor. And Coca-Cola and PepsiCo pledged to investigate abuses, but provided no details on what measures they would take. If the thirst for profit dries up communities and exploits workers, how does the brand treat your own health? As studies began linking sugary drinks to obesity, Coca-Cola adopted a strategy similar to that of tobacco companies: fund favorable science. A 2025 article reports how the company spent millions of dollars to twist science, hiring researchers and creating front groups to downplay the risks of sugary beverages. The report describes that the company pioneered the tobacco playbook, importing strategies from the Sugar Research Foundation, a group partly funded by Coca-Cola. The most emblematic example was the Global Energy Balance Network, launched in 2014. According to the investigation, the network argued that calories are calories, and that the problem of obesity was lack of exercise, not consumption of soft drinks. In 2015, a New York Times expose revealed that the organization was controlled and funded by Coca-Cola, leading to a public apology from then-CEO Mater Kent. In addition, the company promoted the idea of removing calories from the marketplace through changes in formulations and portion sizes. However, as the report highlights, the company continues to launch new drinks with even more sugar while boasting of reducing calories. If science was bought, can we trust the company's environmental promises? Coca-Cola promised that its entire portfolio would be recyclable by 2025 and that it would use 50% recycled material by 2030. But in 2024, the Washington, D.C. court revived a greenwashing lawsuit, concluding that such goals may be deceptive if unattainable. Data show that only 13.6% of the company's plastic was recycled in 2022. Los Angeles County sued Coca-Cola and PepsiCo for deceptive practices. The companies sell the idea that bottles are infinitely recyclable, while most are discarded or downcycled. In November 2024, during global plastic treaty negotiations, Coca-Cola quietly removed from its website the goal of selling 25% of drinks in returnable packaging by 2030, replacing it with a more generic promise to collect 70% of cans and bottles. Environmental organizations called the move a greenwashing masterclass. With the U.S. trade war, President Donald Trump threatened to levy tariffs on imported aluminum, and Coca-Cola CEO James Quincy said the company might switch from cans to plastic bottles to keep prices low. Environmentalists such as Greenpeace warned that PET contains antimony and other hazardous chemicals, and that increasing plastic use worsens the environmental crisis. To make matters worse, in January 2025, the United Kingdom recalled batches of Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola Zero, Diet Coke, and Sprite Zero because they contained elevated levels of chlorate, a byproduct of sanitizers that can harm the thyroid and cause iodine deficiency. The recall, although limited to imported batches, sparked fear and questions about product safety. The company promises recycling while increasing plastic, promises safety while facing recalls. What will be the next blow to consumers? Even under pressure to reduce sugar, Coca-Cola went in the opposite direction. In Australia, the company increased the sugar content of Fanta from 4.5 grams to 7.2 grams per 100 milliliters, and Sprite from 4.9 grams to 6.9 grams. Health experts say this shows that voluntary commitments don't work and underscores the need for a sugar tax. A 600 milliliter bottle of Fanta almost reaches the World Health Organization's daily sugar limit. In the United States, legislators like Elizabeth Warren denounced the practice of shrinkflation, reducing the product size without lowering the price. An example was the subtle change in bottles and cans, while the price remained the same. At the same time, the company boasts record financial results, fueling accusations of corporate greed. While fattening its profits, the brand also fattens its consumers. But its influence goes beyond taste. It reaches the heart of sport. Coca-Cola has sponsored FIFA since 1978, funding World Cups and global campaigns. But in 2024, a dispute arose with Adidas and FIFA over the new Club World Cup. The companies, whose sponsorship contract is worth around $70 million per cycle, opposed unilateral changes to the agreement. The brand responded that it values the decades-long partnership and wants to continue refreshing fans. Critics point out the contradiction. How can one of the biggest contributors to the obesity crisis sponsor the biggest sporting spectacle on the planet? FIFA itself faces pressure to reduce partnerships with fast food and soft drink brands, while doctors and NGOs question the example given to children. But if the company sponsors sport, it also exploits animal suffering. Prepare for a shocking scandal. Coca-Cola diversified its businesses by acquiring a majority stake in Fairlife, a premium milk brand. In 2019, activists released videos of supplying farms where calves were beaten, dragged, and left without food. The company promised audits and changes. However, in April 2025, new videos showed cows being dragged by tractors, whipped and killed brutally, indicating that the abuses continued. The recurrence prompted boycotts of Fairlife and Coca-Cola, as well as lawsuits over animal mistreatment. If even cows suffer at the hands of Coca-Cola's suppliers, what value do their sustainability and ethical promises have? The story of Coca-Cola is a story of dualities. It began as a remedy for a soldier's pains, yet became an omnipresent beverage that influences habits, cultures, and even public policies. It was driven by the marketing genius of Asa Candler, who swapped pamphlets for coupons and turned a tonic into a symbol of modernity. But the same marketing that sells happiness also camouflages crises, dried-up communities, murders of unionists, exploitation of sugarcane workers, funding of manipulated studies, and greenwashing that hides mountains of plastic. With every sip, we take in more than sugar and caffeine. We take in stories of modern slavery, bought science, environmental degradation, and animal cruelty. The promises of a sustainable brand contrast with deleted targets, contamination recalls, and the threat of replacing aluminum with even more plastic. In the end, the question that remains is simple and powerful. After learning these behind-the-scenes stories, do you look at the red can the same way? What responsibility do you have as a consumer when funding companies that accumulate billions in profits at the expense of public health, the environment, and human rights? If this investigation affected you, share it. On the Hidden Dose channel, we will continue exposing stories that big brands prefer to hide. The next episode is already in production. Don't miss it.